Hi, my name is Anganathi Beyile. I'm a 26-year-old Xhosa boy hailing from Langa Township in Cape Town. I am the son of a teacher and a traffic officer, so discipline was and still is a very important thing in our household. I was a bit mal growing up, with lots of energy and smarts, but the combination of these three things got me in trouble more than a few times. I got a few claps as a lighty, and they weren't just limited to mom and dad. They came from aunties, uncles, grandparents, all really around the corner, because you know us Africans like to say it takes a village to raise a child, and in this case, to discipline a child. Us Africans also like to say you don't hit a child out of anger, you hit them out of love, and boy did I feel the love. Out of all the lessons my parents taught me, the power of discipline, the pain of consequences, and the pride of taking accountability for my actions have molded me into the man that I am today. So to that, I say thank you, Msondezi and Nosisa Beyile. When I think back to my childhood, I remember always having had a deep love for my country. I am a patriot through and through. The spirit of Ubuntu, the Rainbow Nation, Bok Friday, I buy into all of that. Earlier this year, I had the opportunity to go on a study exchange in Belgium, the land of waffles, fries, chocolate, and beer. God knows I love my beer and my chocolate, my fries. As a matter of fact, all of the above. I was incredibly excited to see what the rest of the world had to offer, as I had never left South African shores. I was there for 6 months. Picture the scene. 2 weeks in, and I'm already homesick. Not because I did not particularly like Belgium, but the culture shock was significantly bigger than what I expected it to be. I missed this place, especially the people. And of course, it's World Cup season, so I'm seeing the build-up to the Boks defending their crown in France later this year, and I couldn't help thinking of the World Cup in '95, in 2007, 2019, the images of Siya Kolisi hoisting the Webb Ellis Trophy at the World Cup parade, which I attended here in Cape Town. Our nation in pure bliss and celebration, black, white, colored, all brought together under a common promise and a common hope and a common achievement. But ever since I've been home, it's been one thing after another, seemingly driving a wedge between us. From politics and other socio-political issues, it seems as though the thing I missed about home is nowhere to be seen. It got me thinking about the power of messages and what role we as marketers play in the spreading of these messages. Do our messages unify us or do they divide us? And when I turn on the news or go on Twitter, which I really need to stop doing, by the way, it seems as though all the messages I see contribute to the latter. Now, whichever side of the political fence you stand on, we can all agree that the political ideologies that we choose to embrace lead to uncomfortable situations and sometimes even lead to confrontation. Now, when I say political fence, I do not mean the party you vote for. No. I don't mean the DA, I don't mean the ANC, EFF, and Super PAC coalitions, or whatever's going on these days. I mean the cultural and ideological zeitgeist that has come to define the Western world in 2023. It is difficult to navigate the West in 2023 as an individual, and this difficulty is compounded for businesses and brands. According to global research company Euromonitor, 30% of Gen Z consumers make purchase decisions based on brand social and political beliefs, while 24% boycott those same brands if they don't share those beliefs. We as consumers connect with brands that have an identity and a personality, so naturally we tend to see the brands that we love as permanent fixtures in our lives, mirroring the social relationships that we share with other human beings. We see ourselves in these brands, so what they stand for is incredibly important to us, especially when we share those same beliefs. Brands are acutely aware of this. Purpose pandering is a growing trend, with many marketing departments clamoring to maximize their sales while making the perilous error of, as Lauren Reeve says, adopting too thin a disguise for their intentions to capitalize on various social movements. Whether it's Pepsi's failed attempt to cash in on the progressive branding, or Bud Light taking its eye off the ball, distracted by the excitement of being warriors for social change, it is safe to say that many consumers are waking up from the woke, you see what I did there? Marketing campaigns that are virtue signaling, preaching, and lecturing us about what we should believe in. Now, many people view woke advertising as some kind of sophisticated innovation that companies are converging towards a norm of social consciousness, emblematic of human progress, when in reality, the growth of woke advertising is companies investing in their own images, driven to capitalize on the growing outrage mentality of the masses. True brand purpose is a long game that takes a real commitment, especially when the younger generations have high expectations of what brands believe and value. It's important to create specific campaigns that build your community, not your consumer. Too many brands, naturally, are worried about attracting consumers and not building and focusing on their core audiences, i.e. those communities that they serve. This is where Bud Light got it wrong. They underestimated the values and beliefs of their core audience when they partnered with trans social media star Dylan Mulvaney for a campaign. You can tell that this marketing gimmick was obviously driven by the potential for increased revenue and commercial success and not truly purpose-driven. Because after the company's stock plummeted about 12% and Bud Light maker AB InBev lost a whopping $27 billion in market value over the course of the backlash, Bud Light euphemistically fired its marketing team in hopes of sweeping it under the rug. On top of all this, Bud Light did not offer support for Ms. Mulvaney when she fell victim to some of the pretty vile social media bullying, which is arguably the worst part of this whole fiasco. Other big companies like Levi's and Disney have faced backlash in the past for courting queer markets. However, calls for boycotts have fallen flat when the companies involved have stood by their marketing efforts. Bud Light is struggling because, as Todd Evans put it, they took a stand and did not stand behind it. The company made a bid for inclusion and then backpedaled, which shows that they did not mean what they were doing. It wasn't aligned with the true purpose of the company. The Bud Light situation is a stark reminder of what can go wrong when brands try to capitalize on social movements without sincerity. Although some companies take socio-political stands and fall flat on their faces, some take a stand and continue to stand tall in their purpose, even in the face of criticism. Take the Carney Black Label #NoExcuses campaign, which garnered massive reach and won countless awards. South Africa's abuse rate is 5 times higher than that of the global average. It is estimated that 3 women die every day in this country at the hands of their intimate partners. I'm a South African man, a proud one at that. I have a mother, sisters, aunts, nieces, and female friends, so this issue is one that terrifies me. I want to do my part in building a society where women do not live in fear of the men in their lives. Instead of deflecting blame, the beer company decided to take responsibility for the role beer plays in gender-based violence. Black Label's own research revealed that men use alcohol as the #1 excuse when committing gender-based violence. Carney Black Label, South Africa's largest and most loved beer brand, everybody loves a Zamalek, I do too, has been talking to men and defining masculinity for decades, which is why they see it as their responsibility to use their influence to talk to men about this issue. This campaign is the perfect example of using your campaigns to build your community, not your consumer. Black Label understands who its core audience is, men, and is using its platform to speak on the violence that men are responsible for in this country, whilst also taking accountability for the role it plays in perpetuating this violence. The one thing that separates this campaign from other campaigns speaking on similar issues, such as Gillette's The Best a Man Can Be campaign, was the use of politically charged language. The use of the term toxic masculinity in the ad was a flat-out mistake. While only mentioned quickly and briefly, the use of the term usually leads to a one-sided critique and stereotype of an entire group. When it comes to masculinity, society is sending a message that men are acculturated into specific ways of behaving, which can therefore be socialized out of them. But this is simply false and in many ways forms a simplistic view of the differences in temperaments, attributes, and other things that contribute to the makeup of any male individual. 9 out of 10 men and women describe themselves as either completely or mostly masculine or feminine. So it's a bad idea to send a cultural signal to either group that there may be something intrinsically wrong with them. So why all this? Well, I'm a 26-year-old black man. I am going to be a part of this brave new world that my generation is so hell-bent on building. What I have going for me is the fact that I am black, but the fact that I am a man is working against me. Some social movements will convince me that I am a victim because of the color of my skin, and others will convince me that I'm an oppressor and or an aggressor because of my genetic makeup. Some people will convince me that the system is against me, and that I can only hope to make something of my life. But others will say, before I complain, I should check my privilege because many have it far worse. What's most startling about this is that some brands, adopting the role of moral compass, will pass right from wrong in their cacophony of campaigns. Woke advertising is becoming less an add-on on virtue frills and more a required performance. So, marketers need to be careful and purposeful in the social movements that they choose to endorse and make sure that these align with their core values. This is not a call to action, but rather a call to take a breath and realize the impact that our messages have on people. Just like how the news spreads information, even though most of the time it's probably misinformation, we as marketers have the power to form, mold, and change people's perceptions on a variety of things, and we should not take that power for granted. We can all do a better job of creating and crafting messages and moments that appeal to the things that make us similar, not to those that make us different. I think back to those images of Francois Pienaar handing over the World Cup trophy to former President Nelson Mandela, and to John Smith handing the trophy to Thabo Mbeki, people from all walks of life united by a common cause and a vision for a better South Africa. I only use sports images as a reference because I am a sports lover, but the message still rings true when you extend it to other realms. The messages that we share with our audiences should aim to unify us and not divide us. Of course, this is not easy. If it was, I wouldn't be having this conversation. But comfort and ease are the enemies to progress. True progress is not picketing, rioting, throwing stuff, pointing fingers at everyone else but ourselves. The definition of progress is moving forward, but we cannot move forward if we do not bring others with us. And the way we bring others with us is to try and to appeal to the parts they share with us, not highlight the parts that they do not. In closing, I would like to quote M.T. Fletcher's article on Ad Age on this very issue. At a time when our moral outrage is routinely stoked by vote-hungry politicians and click-hungry media, maybe marketing could become a little bit more meaningful by simply reminding us that we are more like-minded than our elected officials and various media outlets want us to be. Thank you.